Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scream with Ryan C. Showers podcast, where the film critic meets the Scream fan twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me for the 250th episode. I really need to take a moment and thank every person who has listened to any second of the past 249 episodes. Any person who has been a part of the 250 episodes that have been produced over the last 5 years, anyone who has been on the show, has subscribed to the Patreon, who has liked a tweet or a post of mine on Instagram, who follows me, people I have never even spoken to, thank you so much for everything you've done to help me produce this show. It is my passion. It is kind of like a somewhat dream of mine to do this. And I really, I don't take for granted any bit of any support that anybody lends to making this podcast more successful. So thank you so much to everybody out there. So in addition, I just want to set up this episode. So first, you're going to hear a segment with me and my friends Josh and my producer TJ discussing the 4 big slasher franchises, which I am deeming Scream, Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th. We are going to not only individually rank them, but then the 3 of us have to agree on a ranking of those 4 franchises. And the result is kind of surprising, and I had nothing to do with it. So, but that's fun. We talk about the villains. We give our least favorite and favorite sequels in each of those 4 franchises, which is very fun. So we do that. And then also after that, my friend Ashley, of course, my producer, Squirrel and Spud, she and I discussed the wild fortnight that Taylor Swift has had recently, from her appearance on her boyfriend Travis Kelce's podcast, The New Heights, to her album announcement, which is The Life of the Showgirl, which releases on October 3rd, which is Neve Campbell's birthday, and of course, Mean Girls Day. And in addition, the fact that she and Travis Kelce got engaged recently. Oh my God. So it's a very fun, jam-packed episode. I want to just give the commentary episode that was released last week for A Nightmare on Elm Street its due, because there was no official Nightmare on Elm Street segment on the schedule this month. However, I wanted to just give it a little bit of credence here, because this episode you're about to hear, comparing the 4 franchises, it's going to be a quasi Nightmare on Elm Street segment. So, this is a really wonderful movie, and I'm going to be having an episode on it in November where me and Ashley and Jess are going to be discussing Nightmare on Elm Street, and particularly like the domestic of that, like Nancy and her parents, and how that kind of compares and contrasts to Sydney and her 2 parents, right? Neil and Maureen. If you would like to listen to my audio commentary of A Nightmare on Elm Street, head on over to Patreon and subscribe. It's a really fun time. And also, this was a big deal because this was doing a Wes Craven movie for the first time as an audio commentary for me, before I've done any of the Scream movies. So everybody, check out the A Nightmare on Elm Street audio commentary. It's episode 248. Before I go any further, I need to thank the producers and administrators of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. First, I need to thank TJ Jones, who does all of the graphic design work from the podcast. Also, I need to thank Ashley Summers, Mark Vieira, Sarah Campbell, and Sam Levy for helping me keep the podcast and Patreon community afloat. Thank you to everybody who subscribes to the Patreon at any and every tier. I'm an independent entity, so any bit of support that comes into the Patreon goes back into the podcast. Joining the Patreon gets you ad-free and early access to every episode, as well as the opportunity to join the community of the show. We have group chats across social media. In particular, Instagram is really the hub of the podcast community. More importantly, joining the Patreon is the vessel in which you would use to come onto the podcast, either in a one-on-one situation with me or a small panel. In addition, there's a guaranteed invite every month to a big group Zoom recording about a Scream topic. An exciting feature of the podcast is the audio commentary episodes. Every Scream fan knows what it was like listening to Wes Craven do the audio commentaries for the original trilogy and Scream 4, with Marianne Maddalena and Kevin Williamson and Patrick Lussier. And what I'm trying to do for my Patreon subscribers is I am going to be performing an audio commentary of a Scream or a Scream-related movie, one per month, every month. And my goal is to try to approach these as I'm doing deep analytical analysis about the characters, about the themes, about just general reaction. So it's something that I'm really proud of and I hope continues to be a cherished part of the podcast. So the commentary is available as a normal podcast episode for anybody to listen to like they would any other podcast, but it will also be available as a video watch along. So everybody, please go over to Patreon, subscribe to Scream with RCS. I would be eternally grateful. So I need to go through and thank everybody over at Patreon who is subscribed as a stab investor or a daddy/mama Ghostface. So the daddy/mama Ghostface of the Patreon are Carrie Tenney, Brett Janovich, Corey Wilson, and Stevie Shears. The stab investors include Allie, Amar Karim, Tamika Jones, David D., Garrison Nichols, Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Nobarini, aka The Vault, Josh Calamari, Josh Carr, Scream Queens podcast, both Josh and Justine, The Horror Project podcast, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PWO5, aka Philip Douglas, Quentin Harrison, and Sam Levy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I am, of course, your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Man, this is at least the 250th time I am starting a show, which is crazy to think. But everybody, you are welcomed into my 250th episode. This is such an exciting landmark. And joining me here to celebrate such a day, I have two of my best friends in the world. And we have nothing in common because I'm gay and they're not. So everybody, please welcome my good friends, Josh Carr. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Ryan. It feels good to be back entering Ryan C. Showers' zone.
Yes, you can enter me whenever you want. Wow, we're just going right there. Hey, rated R, NC-17. Okay, so Josh, please tell everybody where they can find you online.
You can find me on X and Instagram. I think it's Mr. Ja or J Carr on Instagram.
It's Mr. Ja.
It's Mr. Ja on Twitter or X. Again, I always say this. I'm never really on it. The only time I'm on it is to check things out with the people in the Patreon. So if you want to find me, you can find me as a follower of Ryan.
As a follower of Ryan. I love that.
Of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. Let me fix it in post.
Wow. The Melissa people are going to have a field day with that. A follower of Ryan C. Showers. That's fun. And TJ's over here just seething because he hates the power that I hold. But everyone, please welcome my producer, TJ Jones. Hey, TJ.
Hello, Ryan. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. There's no better thing I'd rather be doing on my day off than hanging out with you two.
There's no thing you'd rather be doing on your day off other than me. That's nice. Oh, my God.
And I just want to say to the note you made earlier that we've never met, I'm putting this out there to the entire Ryan C. Showers world. I am watching Scream 7 in person with Ryan. I don't know if it's going to be in his land or in my land. And Josh, of course, you're invited. But there will be a meeting of the two factions here, Straight Bros and Ryan, at some point soon.
So everybody, TJ just dropped a money term here, which is the Straight Bros. And that is what this little group is called. I am obviously not straight. I'm as gay as a $3 bill. But Josh and TJ are both straight. And it's like, wow, I didn't know that if you like Scream, you could be straight. But it is what it is. We have two people here as evidence. So but, they are two of my closest friends. But the biggest moment of bonding in terms of the podcast was episode 150. And that was the episode where we talked about the news involving Neve Campbell posting on Instagram that she is going to be doing Scream 7, directed by Kevin Williamson. And that was kind of such a huge moment for the Scream community, a huge moment for the podcast at a time when things were really, really dim. And it was one of the best episodes ever, one of my top 5 favorites. And that was also like a big milestone episode. It was 150. So every time I have a big milestone like this, I want to do it with Josh and TJ. I mean, I want to do it with Josh and TJ all the time, but specifically, I want to do it with Josh and TJ on my milestone episodes. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me for 250. Everybody, I'm really grateful to be the bottom in a throuple with 2 tops. It's really, really the best thing in the world. So thank you, Josh and TJ, for your service to the podcast and to me as a friend, especially Josh, because Josh is just the best. So thank you, Josh.
Anytime.
And TJ. So let's tell everybody who you are, TJ, as it relates to the podcast.
Ryan C. Showers, muse, his boss, his inspiration, his producer, his graphic designer, and his bestie, his straight bestie.
Well, Josh is my straight bestie. I mean, you could be me in the top 15, I would say. But
15? You do not have 15 straight friends.
well, I guess Amar. So we have to give Amar Karim a shout out. So Amar, he's actually been on the podcast a lot recently, but he is one of my dearest friends too. And he was like, "Wait, well, am I not a straight bro?" And it's like, well, Amar, Ryan and Amar, we're our own thing, and Ryan and the straight bros, we're our own thing too. It's like you can't mix apples and oranges.
Can I give a shout out to Amar though? I think he does a great job in the pod.
Thank you.
You guys have a great dynamic, and I appreciate his analysis.
Well, so, Josh, while I'm on the topic of you, I want to introduce you to a verb, okay? Which is funny.
Go for you.
So we were on vacation. I was on vacation recently, as everybody knows, as I keep reminding everybody and annoying everybody with my stories. But I was in Europe. I was trying to stay off of my phone as much as possible. I wanted to enjoy being in Europe. And as TJ said, I was more plugged in than ever because of all of the crazy stuff going on with Scream. But every time that I would be on my phone or checking my phone or typing, my boyfriend would say to me, "How's Josh doing? You're joshing right now. How's Josh?" So you have not only become a figure in my life, but you're also a verb. So whenever I'm on my phone, it's called joshing. I'm joshing. So even when I'm not texting you, even when I'm texting Jacob or Joey or just checking the news, I'm joshing.
It's an honor to be my name to be a verb as well. It also means joking around too. So, but I like your version better.
Yeah.
TJ, does Aiden say he must be joshing right now, or is it strictly Ryan and Brent?
She says I'm always showering, and I just don't love that.
Oh my God, I just had a heart attack. That's so cute.
I'm just
Wow.
kidding. She doesn't say that.
But that was creative. Josh Carr is like the greatest friend to me. Anytime that I possibly could need him, he's there. He's like he has such a good heart and he's such a good person. He's the type of guy who would save a village from like a bus crash or something. On my birthday, he like kind of took it upon himself to take control of making sure my WhatsApp group wished me happy birthday. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere you could possibly wish me happy birthday, Josh Carr was on it.
It's no problem. Look, it was nice to do it, but also I took your lead because that's what you did for me. You did it on every single social media platform, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, everything. So I was like, I got to beat him. It was more of a competition. Happy birthday, of course, but it was a little competitive, so I had to beat you at your own game.
Well, you did miss one app, Grindr. I'm just teasing.
Ryan, you surprise me with your wit from time to time. That was pretty good.
TJ recently said that I am the funniest unfunny person. What does that mean, TJ?
I just generally don't think of you as a funny person, and so when you say something witty, it's just very surprising and quite nice, quite clever.
So I was in Greece, and I get this Instagram message from TJ. And it's this like Spanish soap opera of this woman who she slips and then she falls into a truck and then she falls onto the ground. And it's basically the context is like drama. You're being over dramatic. And TJ said, "I wonder who this reminds me of. ... Who did that remind you of?" Is he on the screen right now?
Yeah, it was like I'm not dramatic, also me, and it was like the most ridiculous dramatic sequence ever. And that's okay. That's the balance of our relationship and our yin and our yang. Me and Josh are here to ground you as you're fluttering around in the atmosphere with all your excitement and emotions, and we're happy to do it. It's a job we appreciate and enjoy.
So, TJ, you are not only the graphic designer, but you, I guess, are the publisher and creator of the Showers, all caps, magazine, which is very cool. And so we are recording today on September 9th, and this is the day that the Kevin Williamson Scream 6 episode went out, and him saying that, his favorite sequel is Scream 6, which TJ just, he made a beautiful graphic, one of the best graphics ever, and there were so many compliments on it today. But also, TJ was trolling me a little bit. He put Kevin's face huge and, justice for the Bailey family, confirm or deny. Was that trolling?
1,000,000,000%.
You salivated at this.
Yeah,
Rub it in my face.
What other voice would mean more to show love to 6 than Kevin Williamson? That would be like sticking it to the 6 haters. There's nothing more valuable in this battle of the ages than that.
Well, let me tell you whose voice could be more valuable than that. Nev Campbell. Oh, wait, she didn't see Scream 6. TJ, thank you so much for all you do for the podcast. I appreciate you consistently showing up to make my podcast better. So thank you.
It's a lot of fun. Me and Josh enjoy being around, hanging out, listening to you, having a good time every time.
So TJ, I know we can't, this is just like the tip of the iceberg, but I do want to get your comments on it. I want to go beyond the tip. Okay. Hashtag beyond the tip with Josh Carr and TJ. If people haven't noticed, I like Josh more than I like TJ.
Definitely.
So tell everybody about your trip to a certain town this summer. You went to Southport.
I did. Yeah, I'm originally from North Carolina, and I was back in North Carolina for my mom's 70th birthday in July, and it happened to just be over the July 4th weekend, and we were staying at a small coastal barrier island right off the coast of North Carolina called Bald Head Island. And literally to get to Bald Head Island, you have to get on a ferry that's at Southport. So yeah, it was really, really cool. I was in Southport, during the 4th of July. There's not many more kind of meta real life events to a fictional film scenario that you can experience firsthand. And it's great. I put a little video together, and if you go right downtown, you can walk to like 7 or 8 locations, like just in the span of like 2 or 3 blocks. It was like 1,000,000,000 degrees outside, so even that was a little difficult. But you could just bounce around, and all of a sudden you were at the gym where Ryan Phillippe's boxing, or you can go over to the Fisherman's restaurant, or you can go over to Julie's house, and it's just all right there. So it was a really great time, and I had a fun time putting together that video. And then bouncing back to Wilmington and getting a bunch of Scream 5 spots. So it's interesting that little corner of North Carolina has become such like a central place for some of the slashers that we love.
Yeah, it's very cool. So you made a really awesome reel. So if you want to check out TJ's travels, head on over to my Instagram. It's there. It's great. And TJ, why don't you tell everybody what other podcasts besides Scream with Ryan C. Showers you apply your talents to, even though mine's better in terms of your work?
Yeah, I would say I definitely am more passionate about this one than
really? Because I think you like them more. I've always thought
the jerks over there at the Buds.
I always thought you liked the Box Office Buds more than me.
No. That's like one of those relationships you just had for so long, you just feel like you're just like guilty to hang around and be locked in. So when they asked me to come in and be a producer, I kind of reluctantly said yes. But no, it's the Box Office Buds. We have a good time talking about, you guessed it, the box office. And just 4 guys who moved to LA chasing dreams and love numbers and love film and love bullshitting about movies. So it's a pretty good time. Ryan is always kind enough to repost our stuff. So you can either find it through my Instagram at joneshiphop.com, or, Ryan reposts my stuff all the time. So it's not hard to find.
So Josh, while TJ was in Southport, I released an episode on 4th of July, and I posted it across social media like I always do in the Facebook groups. And there's a Facebook group that only lets my posts in. They don't let anybody else's posts in, which TJ is over here thinking, how does Ryan have the mafia, of Scream hooked up that only his posts get into certain Facebook groups? I do. I don't know how it works, but Josh told me about it, and I was like, I thought Josh was like accusing me of something, like I was doing something bad.
And he said, yeah, what's your point? And I was like,
damn,
that is the harshest thing you've ever said to me.
Who's the top now, huh? Who's the top now?
I'm such a dick. Even so my sister, so I have a desk at my mom's house, and I'm here, and I need to work, when I'm here because I work from home. And she had her fucking Legos all over this desk. So I needed to get working. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to her, and I said, some of us work during the day, meaning like, bitch, you need to clear your Legos off before I arrive, because I don't want to break them and stuff. But she was like, wow, Ryan, that was really harsh. And I was like, wow, okay, maybe I'm the problem. TJ's like, yes, we're on to something.
Yes, I am with her 100%. You are the problem.
Did you just say hashtag I'm with her?
I am 100%. Yeah.
You didn't get the joke.
Me and Hillary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Kamala. That's a Kamala thing, right?
No, it was Hillary.
It was Hillary. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm with both of them.
Kamala, it was coconut. So, Josh Carr, though, he's funny because I'm also on the ship whenever I was in Greece. I was having problems with my cell phone, and I couldn't, again, like this was the universe saying disconnect. And TJ's like, Ryan is more connected than ever in his, somewhat Southern, somewhat woke California accent. But because Josh is the most reliable person in my life, I texted him and I was like, Josh, can you see my text? Can you see my text? Can you see my text? Confirm. I guess like after my phone got working again, I saw his responses come in, and he was like, dude, I see your texts.
So I even texted TJ. I was like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get in touch with Ryan.
I was wishing that was the case. Give me a damn break.
He probably bought some sort of internet package once he found out how bad it was gonna be, just so he could stay plugged in.
The premium package. I have a Scream podcast, and I need to keep my followers up to date. So please provide me the premium access. Yes, that is something I would do. So I can't. I'm so annoying. I'm sorry.
How was that Wi-Fi on the cruise in general? Once you got it locked in, was it okay?
Once
You're on the ocean, right?
Yeah. I mean, but it was in the Mediterranean, so we were constantly surrounded by the different islands. So it wasn't like we were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Like that was. I've been that person. I've gone to like Australia and New Zealand, and that shit is scary. You're really just out in the middle of the ocean for days. But this one wasn't too bad once I got it working.
Yeah, I heard you on the pod saying you've been to all these places. You're Carmen Sandiego over here. Like, what is with all this international travel?
Well, I'm gay and I have a boyfriend and he likes to travel and he forces me to travel.
I need to get a gay boyfriend. I haven't gone anywhere.
Well, I'll be your gay boyfriend.
Can I be the throuple with you and Brent, and we can just travel together? I'll get a matching Speedo. We can all wear 3 matching Speedos.
Why don't the 3 of us we should just take this thing that I'm manifesting and we can just combine our incomes and travel the world. That would be fun.
I think we need Brent's wallet for this to for this to work, because I know mine shit ain't helping much.
So, speaking of how annoying I am, I was so excited when Taylor Swift got engaged on my trip. And I sent the straight bros. I was like Paul Revere telling everybody I knew on the ship and in text, just sending the screenshot. And I sent it to the straight bros and I said, I'm going to be so insufferable about this. And TJ, what did you respond back with?
When are you not insufferable?
Yeah, I felt so called out. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's par for the course.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for you, and excited to shout out to Ashley, because I know everyone's very excited about Taylor Swift getting married. Josh just got Kelsey on his fantasy team. I mean, this is big news for you guys. I finally put Taylor Swift's picture, spoiler alert, on an upcoming thumbnail.
You did.
Resisted for so long.
You did.
But this dude just kept pushing and pushing, and I threw Taylor on there, and I was hoping for a little more of a revealing showgirl picture, but the frame wouldn't allow it, so it's a very just like shoulders up face shot, and it looks good.
I think that we won you over or we wore you down. I'm not sure, but I think Taylor and the photo shoot for The Last Showgirl, I think that was the thing that finally broke through.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I'll tell you that much. Josh and I are fans. No doubt about it.
One of my favorite things from this past summer is I have a video on my phone of TJ.
Well, I don't like the start of that sentence. It's been creeping in my hidden folder on my iPhone. Go ahead.
Yeah. On the beach, shirtless, sunglasses, lip syncing to Shake It Off. And he took a video of himself lip syncing to Shake It Off and sent it to me. And I, of course, sent it to my 50 closest friends and said, does this mean that TJ is finally flirting with me and that our romance is finally budding?
You know what? Speaking of, and Josh, you can help attest this is the truth. Do you see this? What does that look like to you?
It looks like some stains.
It's sweat. It's fucking sweat, because I don't have central air here in my spot in Culver City. So if you would just give me 1 second.
Okay. Ooh, oh my gosh. Oh my God. Wow. TJ is shirtless, everybody. He just took off his shirt.
I'm sweating my balls off here, and so I'm just losing the shirt. This is what it's going to be. Patreon members, log in, check out the video. It's happening.
Daddy. So, interesting. So, Josh, one last thing before we get going here. So, you are super into football, or as TJ calls it, a bunch of dudes grunting and bending over.
This guy brought notes to this podcast.
This is what I did.
Receipts from all the bullshit we said in that thread. I like this. Okay. I love it.
Yeah. So, Josh, you are involved in football. What's that? What is football?
American pastime. It's fantasy football, much like the fantasy box office draft that we did, the 3 of us. It's just fantasy football. You pick the players. And like I told y'all earlier, I made a trade that involved Travis Kelce. And I felt like you should be the first one to hear it, because I know that you'd be excited.
I was.
But yeah, football on Saturdays, big thing down south. LSU is my team. And then on Sunday, Saints are my team. They're not that good. So fantasy kind of lets me look at the whole league as a whole, all the individuals that are playing, and just kind of respect the athleticism and the sport more as a whole.
Well, but you have this draft thing, right?
Yes, there is a draft.
So, again, I don't get the drafts. I don't get the drafting, but the box office draft has helped me put things in perspective. So the big question is, so me, Josh, and TJ, we have a box office draft, and the big question is not whether who is going to win, but which of me or Josh is going to win. Because TJ, your movies were done by the beginning of August. Like it says check mark,
I know, it's sad, man. Those superhero movies really shit the bed.
Yeah. So let's make a prediction here. Who do we think is going to win, Ryan or Josh?
I think that if you get the bonus, you're probably going to win. If TJ gets the bonus, then I still have a chance. But if you get that bonus, I think it's done. That's just my opinion.
I think it's going to make it a lot more interesting if I get the bonus. Otherwise, I think, it won't be as interesting.
So for perspective, everybody, I picked Megan too, which I thought a slam dunk, right? I even went on the box office buds and I was flaunting, oh my God, it's going to make so much money. Please. God, I've never been more wrong in my life. I feel so embarrassed by that. But Josh took fucking Wicked from me.
Mm.
And that just, it still hurts. It hurts my feelings. Like, I know.
This is the first I'm hearing of this. What?
Yeah.
You've never brought this up before, Ryan. This happened?
Yeah.
I'm not aware.
He
I
stole
didn't know he was a Wicked fan.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Gay from the Northeast, not a Wicked fan? What are you talking about? I have to say, you know what my favorite pick of the year was? The Conjuring. That just made my day. I'm so happy. Like, I mean, I expected it to do well because the other ones did well, but holy fucking shit. The Conjuring, The Lost Rites made bank this week. And I have been on such a cocky high with the box office draft because so I also picked the Leo DiCaprio movie for my Metacritic pick, which is like the movie that's going to be like have the highest critic score. I smartly picked that, and it's having terrific reviews. We don't have the Metacritic score yet, but we will in probably a week or so. I'm going to win that, and The Conjuring is going to continue to make money and money and money, and I'm going to win.
Early reviews are always good. Deuce Bigelow had early reviews that were awesome. It doesn't mean shit. Sinners is going to win that category. Sinners is going to have the better Metacritic score. We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting, that's for sure. It's fun that it'll be a photo finish.
I do want to pop back. TJ, do you not think Deuce Bigelow was a good movie?
Not
I
as good as
loved
Karate Kid. Oh my God, that was such a great Oscar-winning movie.
This dude,
The Karate Kid got him. He got him.
I feel like this is his payback for the dessert that we had brought to the last episode. He is like, I'm coming for them this time.
Yeah, he's got shit really planned
He
out. here.
does. He
I
does.
do. Yeah.
Came locked and loaded.
I did. So let's move on to horror. That's why people want to
Yeah.
hear us talk, not just to see TJ shirtless and just to see Josh Carr being the Prince Charming that he is. Let's move on. So, okay, everybody. So as I alluded to earlier, Josh and TJ and I had that episode where we kind of became bonded as podcast brothers. And it was about the beginning of Scream 7 with Nev Campbell and Kevin Williamson. It was the start of a new chapter. And it's just crazy to me, like, this is episode 250, episode 150. So there have been 100 episodes between now and then. It blows my mind. And we don't even have Scream 7 yet. We still have a good 6 months to go. So I guess I just want to throw it over to you guys. From that first time that we met through now, what are your thoughts? What are your reflections? What are you most looking forward to with Scream 7? Let's go to my man Josh first.
I'll be honest with you. Much like TJ said, I've been trying to stay off of the internet because of all the spoilers that are running rampant. The anticipation is definitely building. I mean, man, I'm itching to see that trailer. I think we all are. But again, I'm trying to stay off of the social media. I don't want anybody to try to spoil it for me. So I've been kind of staying back and not really getting on the socials as much. But the anticipation's there. Super excited for this movie. Probably more so than any of them here in the last, since even 2011. I mean, that was big anticipation because it's been a while. But this has eclipsed that. 5 and 6, you had the anticipation there too, and just ready for it. But having to, I think you mentioned it earlier today, where you live in the moment when it's coming, and then after it's totally different. And so, man, I don't know. This is highly anticipated. I'm super. The reunion of Kevin, Nev, and Courtney. It's awesome.
Well, and just think about this, Josh. Okay, so from the time I started the podcast through episode, I think it was 34, was whenever we got the Scream 5 review. I think it was episode 33 or 34. So 33 episodes. Then Scream 6, the review was episode 98. Just, it's amazing to me that we got 2 movies within 100 episodes, and now here we are, since the announcement, there's been 100 episodes. So what you're saying about like the anticipation being kind of really drawn out, it's true. The thing that I hope, I have hyped Scream 7 up so much. My full-time job is hyping up Scream 7 and just like, getting people excited. I really hope that like it lives up to all of that.
I think I'm unlike you guys in this. Especially with a movie that's highly anticipated like Scream 7, when I go see that movie, I will almost subconsciously find any reason it was great. I loved it. I have to sit with that movie, watch it multiple times before I start going, even Scream 6. It's not my favorite, but when it first came out, and I think even you were too. I listened back to some of those episodes. Everybody was just the honeymoon phase, as we call it. But once I live with it for a little bit, it kind of gives me the opportunity to look at it as, critically. I can't do that immediately.
Yeah.
When it first comes out, I go and I'm super excited, and I'm finding whatever reason, that's not a big deal. You said that today in the podcast with Radio Silence. What do you say? Call it the ham sandwich or whatever?
So the honeymoon phase is real. My honeymoon phase with Scream 6 lasted, it was very short. And not because it wasn't that I didn't recognize the flaws. Like if you listen to the very first episode, if you listen to episode 98, I go through with a red pen. But I was enthusiastic and positive. That lasted about a week. And then it shifted. I don't think I don't think there's going to be a honeymoon phase for Scream 7. I think it's just the honeymoon phase is going to be the reality for people. I think it's going to shock people in how good it is. So, TJ, what are your thoughts?
I think there's just a level of anticipation and awareness from the general audience that was not as dialed in for the last couple. I think regardless of how you felt about 5 and 6, they did well at the box office. They've existed now on Paramount Plus app for, several years. They're constantly on like those streaming sites as like big titles that are popular. I think objectively they're the most kind of hot and sexy horror franchise right now. I mean, there's Conjuring and things like that have made more money, but I still think there's a cool element to Scream that not a whole lot of franchises have. And I think the inclusion of people like Jenna Ortega have gotten other fans involved, younger fans, and so I think this one will do a great job of continuing to have that sexiness appeal with some young hot actors, but also finally bringing back for the old folks like us the legacy characters in a way that should be really exciting. And all the controversy behind the scenes has only really just continued to keep the name Scream 7 in the headlines and in people's consciousness and in the zeitgeist. So I think it's going to really deliver. So this one, they had a bit more time, and then the maestro of Kevin Williamson was able to come in there and work his magic on the script. So I think everything is going to feel a little more settled, a little more solidified, have a better foundation. I'm sure Nev had scripts notes as well. And so I just feel like they were ready to be like, all right, we're going to make a definitive chapter of this thing that really is going to please everybody. So I'm excited.
I think there's going to be such a renewed sense about like the story and the narrative and like the cleanliness of it, I think is going in terms of not being flawed or having plot holes, because they all of the films have plot holes to an extent. Scream 3 does, Scream 4 does, Scream 5 does, Scream 6 does. But Scream 2, I don't know. I just get the sense that it's going to be more elite than what we've seen recently. I think it's going to be something really special. So,
Josh, did you just hear Ryan said something negative about Scream 3?
It does have
Should we stop the podcast? Are you okay? Ryan, are you feeling all right? That would be a fun podcast, actually. That would be a fun podcast where it's like a constructive criticism of 3 versus just always blowing 3, to the fucking heavens.
Bitch. Okay, first of all, I have been constructive. I've talked about, say,
I'm saying as a whole episode. I'm not saying you've never said anything constructive about it,
What? But see, the problem is, like, people have dragged on Scream 3 forever and have been so negative about it. I haven't wanted to single out Scream 3. If I do a constructive criticism episode, I would say, let's do about all 6 movies and like to spend 15 minutes on each movie and talk about the constructive criticism.
I'm sure you'd only spend 15 minutes on 6. I'm sure that'd be the case.
To take it even deeper, you should do part of the episode. Let's talk about the overall things about Scream 3 and then the next part of the episode, let's talk about all the good things about Scream 6 and then combine those together.
I love that.
Is it opposite day? Absolutely not. I'm just teasing it. Maybe we'll think about it. Okay. So let's go on. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I consider myself a Scream expert. I have a really good sense over the Scream movies. I know them inside and out. I can sit down and do an episode of, analyzing Scream without any preparation. I love these movies. They're my everything. And I know the culture around Scream pretty well in the 90s and early 2000s. However, something I'm not so expert on is what came before. It's funny because Scream is a movie that comments on the slasher genre, the horror genre, horror movies that came before, and the height of the slasher genre, even though it kind of got its rumblings in the 70s with movies like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, whatever, it didn't really explode until the 80s with the advent of the sequels and these big machines of, say, A Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger or Friday the 13th with Jason, Halloween, even though it was a bumpier ride with Michael. So I would love a bumpy ride with Josh and TJ. And one thing that TJ makes fun of me for a lot is like my lack of knowledge about these slashers. And like sometimes I feel like, not with Josh and I kind of get each other, but sometimes TJ and I feel like we talk past each other. Like I'm emphasizing like, character development and like in various 90s things that Scream really popularized. And TJ kind of sees slashers in another way. So that was kind of the inspiration for this episode. And in this episode, Josh and TJ and I, we are going to give our rankings of the 4 big slasher franchises. And not only that, we're going to take it a step further and we're going to come to a consensus ranking between the 3 of us of these 4 franchises, which are Scream, Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th. So that's where we're going here. But let's just talk about this elusive idea of the 80s slasher and my lack of familiarity with it. So TJ, what the fuck is the 80s slasher? Can you explain this shit to me?
Great question, Ryan. The 80s slasher, given birth, the flowers of the 80s slasher were born of the seeds of Black Christmas and Halloween, these movies that came before it and decades before it. But like you said, astutely, surprisingly, the sequels coming in the 80s is what really, I know myself, fell in love when I could just go to the video store and I would just see like all these volumes of these different franchises, and like the slight variations in the covers. And, they had this mythology built into them and these continuing storylines. And the 80s slashers in particular, because they were like coming out at such a fast clip, they were not so concerned with, character development, overly, dedicated to continuity. They oftentimes were just taking the fun ingredients and focusing on that. Let's have a lot of kills. Let's have some fun. Let's get some, ridiculous practical effect violence. And let's just pump these things out. And I think that for me personally, I think that is why I am more forgiving of modern day slashers, because I feel like I came to the genre with like slightly lower expectations of the ride that I want to go on. The ride watching movies, not the ride with me and you, Ryan. And
with your seed, like you said earlier,
where I planted my seed. It's hard for you to hear when you're in front of me and I'm behind you. But see, we gotta understand that you come to this for like the Buffy of it all. You and a lot of your ilk love the sassy protagonist or the gloomy protagonist. And that's fair. But I'm not coming to the movies for Nancy. I'm not coming to the movies for Laurie. I'm coming to the movies for Michael, Freddie, and Jason. And I love the protagonists. They're just not the most essential piece of it. To me, it's more about the killer and the formula and having a good time. And I think that's the difference of a lot of the 80s movies. And then in the 90s with Scream, to its credit, it kind of like injected this prestige element into it where it's like, actually, we can really tell a good story and we can really have some good character development and we can really have some talented actors and treat this in a more serious way while still reflecting the tropes of the genre that made it so popular in the 70s and 80s. And so I understand why another generation of fans that's a little bit younger has grown more towards those, slightly more emotional, slightly more highbrow versions of the slasher. But myself, and I would say Josh to a certain extent, we like to get down and dirty with some crappy 80s slashers, and it's really fun for us.
Well, let's let Josh speak for himself. Josh, where do you stand on this? Because like I'm, I'll just I counter what TJ said. It's not only just like, I think there is an element of prestige. I think there's an element of knowing I think there's an element of like the characters who are overly clever. I think that's a very Kevin Williamson thing. Like these teenage characters who are really well educated and speak like adults and are extra smart in the way that they speak and that they have like quips and stuff. But also there's like an element of feminism. There's an element of like depth with the character development, and there's more continuity, I think, within like the Scream world. And I think that's kind of like the separation between like the Nightmares and the Fridays versus the Screams. And Halloween is somewhere, it's a little bit of both, but and a lot, but anyways. So Josh, where do you stand? Do you stand with TJ or do you stand with Ryan C. Showers?
But no, I stand with TJ. And,
I stand with TJ, hashtag. Wow.
Look, and I think what he just explained about the video store, being able to look at the covers and just sit there and all, like, it's so funny because we all did that individually. None of us knew we were doing that together, like as a unit, until as we grow up and we talk about it, we're like, oh yeah, those covers were just insane.
Josh, here's the thing though. I get it. But at the same time, me as a millennial, I'm very proud to be a millennial. Taylor Swift has made me proud to be a millennial. I went to the video store too. I mean, I had that same experience going and seeing the Halloween VHSs and seeing the Scream VHSs and like the I Know What You Did Last Summer VHSs and the Urban Legends and the whatever. So it's not just an 80s thing, but you're saying you like TJ's lack of character development, weak ass, just blob of shape of horror killers more than you like Gale and Sydney?
Well, I think we're gonna get to that at another point in the episode. I don't want to get too far into how I'm ranking everything. Okay, there's a Scream tier, and then there's a tier of the other ones. Scream is better, top to bottom, from Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I find Scream to be better quality than all of those. But there's something, especially in the Friday the 13th, there's something schlocky and gritty about it that the 80s just captured. Like that, you can watch Scream, and maybe even in the first Scream, but after that, I don't really get any of the 80s slasher vibes anymore. It just kind of becomes its own new thing, and it's slashers, of course, but it's very, as they say on the box, clever, hip, entertaining. And back then, it was just, hey, we're here for the gore and the grit, and like TJ said, we're here for the killers to see what they're gonna do. I mean, they were big deals, and so I don't know. It's just something about that. Now, I didn't see, only Friday the 13th I saw was Jason Takes Manhattan before I saw Scream. After I saw Scream, then it was, I'm starting to rent all these movies. And so I was able to sit with a whole series of movies, Friday the 13th, Halloween, before even seeing Scream 3, at that point, so I've been able to just really delve into those movies, watch them over and over again. If I rented it and I'm had it for 2 days, I watched it 4 or 5 times in those days. So, it's just being able to sit with those movies. They're on a different level, but they mean almost just as much to me as, a Scream does.
So here's my thing. Okay. So I don't know, maybe because I came of age with Scream was like my first big thing, and seeing the continuity of like having 1, 2, and 3 all together, I was expecting to see the same characters over and over again. I would be disappointed to have been in like, in the 80s, and like Nightmare 2, Nancy isn't there. Like, what happened to Nancy? Like, what, like, I guess just like I feel like we're on different planets in a way.
No, I mean, I think to that point, yes, we can put the focus on, our acceptance of the sequels, which certainly can be a little more lowbrow, but let's not discount Nancy in the original Nightmare or Laurie in the original Halloween. I mean, these were really strong female characters told from, even though it was a male director, they were very strong, awesome, badass final girls. And so it's not like these franchises were like completely devoid of that. And I think we wouldn't like the sequels had the first one not been as good, or at least we wouldn't like it as much. You know what I mean? I think we kind of understood. We didn't necessarily understand the mechanisms of Hollywood at such a young age, speaking for myself, but we just got that it was kind of catching in on this kind of formula, and that I could have a fun time with it. But they're still, I would say Nancy and Laurie are both, pretty much on par with at least Sydney and Scream 1 in terms of like character development and really being awesome final girls. But yeah, you can't expect that out of the sequels, and it just was not in their, on their list of important things to do when they made those sequels, to like focus on the protagonist storyline from the previous film. It just is not part of their plan at all.
So I think it had a lot to do with probably where I was at an age where you go on the playground and you're like, I saw Freddy Krueger, he had knives. Some of the other kids, they hadn't seen it. And you have this like, yeah. And they're like, oh man, Josh got to see Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers. And it becomes this kind of thing you talk about on the playground. And then those kids want to know, and it becomes this big thing. Obviously they were bigger, but I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, on the pulse of what it is and why. But it may have to do with in the late 90s when you had the internet was kind of becoming prevalent. You start watching these movies, and the first thing you could do was like, oh, let me go look on the internet, and sit on the internet for hours just researching movies, looking at IMDb back in the day and their message boards and stuff, and just being able to do that kind of thing with each of the movies. You learn so much about a movie that you didn't catch the first time. So when you watch it again, you notice it, and it becomes that little useless trivia that you have that you bring up, and people are like, okay. But I mean, then you find somebody that you connect with like us, and it's like, okay, yeah, I like that.
I just had something crystallized in my head that I think we've kind of danced around in these conversations about the difference between the movies, but I don't think we've quite articulated it like this. But the kind of like history and mythology that you're drawn to for Sydney is the history and mythology we were drawn to from the Killers, right?
Freddy and Jason.
Yeah, because that was actually the continuity, even though it was not always great. It was the continuity that they actually tried to keep up. What happened to the killer in the first one? How did he die? How was he resurrected? What was his experience? And that was cool to be like, to your point, talk on the playground and be like, did you see the one where they, cut his head off, or the one where this happened, or they burned Freddy alive? How is he coming back? So the continuity that and the character arc, for lack of a better term, with the killer, that kind of obsessive mythology that exists in comic books and has existed in storytelling stories forever in every form, was really the ones that they cared about was the killers. And so I think that was really something exciting that those movies leaned into, and obviously still leaned into it through the more recent Halloween movies. I mean, certainly Halloween H2O leaned into the mythology of Michael Myers, but in the Ghostface world of slashers, the mythology is not really about Ghostface. You know what I mean? They've never done a movie that they focused on like the psychology of like what it means to put on the mask and like why do these people, they don't really focus on that, right? Some of the mythology around like Billy Loomis's stuff is like relevant. Roman is relevant, but it's not really about the Ghostface of it all. Those movies and that continuity through all those features was about the killers. So I think we were kind of drawn to similar things. They're just presented in much different ways.
Yeah. That's actually a great explanation of the difference. And yeah, I like it. And I think like, I guess like what it boils down to is like, it almost feels like, the 80s were monster movies and the 90s were more soap opera, right? Is that it?
I think so.
So definitively, which is better, 80s or 90s? Obviously, I'm voting for 90s. I just want to reiterate, Josh, what is your vote?
As a whole, I would say 80s slashers are better. I mean, 90s are great because it's Scream, and you got all the adjacents. Personally, though, it's you got 3 huge and some arguably 4 with Texas Chainsaw Massacre or 5 with Child's Play, but you've got a bunch like probably 15 movies. That's just off the top of my head that I mean, quality's not great, but it's got that 80s feel, that 80s slasher feel that, again, I say the first Scream does slightly capture that, especially at Stu Macher's house. But no, I would say 80s slashers.
I feel like Scream 1 could almost fit into that mold of like the 80s, like you're saying. I think Scream 2 and Scream 3 is what seals the deal and forming it into its own thing, I think. I think Scream 2 was so groundbreaking culturally that we don't really talk about it that much, but it was just as groundbreaking as the original in different ways. But TJ, I assume your vote here is with the schlocky 80s slashers.
If you were to lump in 1978's Halloween, then I think it's not a contest between which one is better. I think it becomes a bit more of a conversation if you let that fall to the 70s and purely talk about, the whole catalog of the 80s versus the very limited catalog of the 90s. I mean, the cream rising to the top of both, it's like, that's more of a conversation. If Halloween's in there, it's not a conversation. I would also say, just to that point earlier, I think one of the reasons I like 6, we don't have to get into 6. Everyone take a deep breath. We're not getting into 6. I just think it does capture a bit of that, like we're not taking ourselves as serious. This is a bit of a ride. We have some momentum going. We're not like getting, overly connected to some of the emotional elements or the arcs from the previous movies. We're just kind of like throwing these people in the blender of this scenario, and the killers are ridiculous, and it's just supposed to be a lot of fun. So that's why I think one of the reasons I'm way more forgiving of 6 and its plot holes and its flaws, which there are, obviously, because I think it does just like want to be a fun slasher. And to that point, Halloween Kills. I mean, I think people are mostly mixed at best on that trilogy, even like the hardcore Halloween fans. But for me personally, I like Kills the most because it is just a fun slasher, and they don't try and get caught up in cherry blossom bullshits or like trauma or whatever. It's just like, nah, this is just a fun slasher. Have a good time. So that's why I like it the most.
Okay. Well, so here's the thing, though, about Halloween. I don't include Halloween in the 80s because, first of all, it didn't come out in the 80s. Sorry to be that guy, but it didn't. So it's weird because Halloween, it has... So Freddy and Jason really do live in the 80s. Sure, they had some movies in the 90s, and they've struggled ever since. But it's fun because Halloween was before, technically came out before them, and it's had a longer-lasting legacy. Like, it showed up in the 90s with Scream, and now Scream and Halloween exist in this era, with the Blumhouse trilogy, with the Spyglass films for Scream. So it's just interesting that, like, and I would argue that Halloween is has more of the narrative that I like, that the Scream fan and Ryan likes, the Laurie Strode storyline. And the problem with Halloween, though, is there are so many different story threads versus Scream. You have the one consistent story thread, which is amazing. But, like, I personally love the Halloween franchise because we follow Jamie Lee Curtis in a similar way that we follow Sidney. And Halloween, including David Gordon Green's films, have deep thematic elements to them that make it narratively rich in the same way that Scream does. So, even though, the entire franchise of Halloween isn't like that, I think there's a reason why Halloween is kind of transcended over the decades and has been able to show up in the 90s and do H2O and show up here with, in the requel era. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think as much as I love Nightmare on Elm Street and think it is, an elite movie, to borrow a phrase that you just used that you borrowed from me, I think it's still more respected in the slasher realm than it is at large. I think Halloween, the original 1978 John Carpenter, is like at large considered a classic American cinema film for all the reasons, for the the low budget of it all, the groundbreaking techniques, everything that lasted. So I think that movie just had a way bigger cultural impact than Nightmare on Elm Street did. And I think most average moviegoers would have more of a relationship with that original Halloween than the Nightmare stuff. So I think that kind of being the anchor that started that whole franchise allowed it to have longer legs, because that first one is so damn good. And Jamie Lee Curtis is a massive star, and probably would have been with her. I mean, it's hard to say, might have been without Halloween at all. And that can't be said for the actress who plays Nancy, Heather Langenkamp, right? That can't be said for her. She's not, if anyone walked by Heather on the street, 9 out of 10, 99 out of 100 people wouldn't know who she is. But when you have this bankable, now Oscar-winning actress that is like the voice of your franchise, that certainly allows you to carry on. So who knows, if Heather Langenkamp would have exploded and become a big star after Nightmare, maybe that would have given that franchise more juice to carry on. But it just wasn't the case, and it didn't happen. So I think between Halloween being an absolute undeniable classic, and then Jamie Lee Curtis just becoming a massive star, it just allowed the gravity to go in reverse of that franchise, and that thing could just keep going up and up and up. So that's my theory.
I agree with you, TJ. I think it has everything to do with Jamie Lee. I mean, she stepped away from the franchise to become a bigger star and branch out and do other things. And then when she comes back, it gains its success back. Yeah, Friday was locked up in a lawsuit for a long time too, which was really upsetting for Friday the 13th fans, because it was just in limbo. So, you couldn't really do anything with that. And then with Robert Englund saying he's not going to do Freddy anymore, I mean, that's kind of a big deal, just because it's not just a mask, it's makeup, and it's Robert Englund who is embodied Freddy. So, yeah, I agree with you, TJ. I think a lot of it most of it has to do with the success of Jamie Lee Curtis.
And can we just point out, I think that there's a similarity there I know that Jamie Lee Curtis, her star power is immeasurable compared to other people in the horror genre, but still you have people like Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell who are also big stars in their own right. So I do think in some ways Halloween is more in common with Scream than it does either Nightmare or Friday. Is that too controversial to say?
And the way that Kevin Williamson has kind of bounced in between franchises, and the iconic use of Halloween during the climax of Scream 1, I think that continues to be one of the most cool and impressive things I've ever seen in a movie. The fact that they had the diegetic score of Halloween providing the score in Scream 1 at the Mocker House. I mean, because that music just gets me to my core still. And so when you have fucking Dewey in there going around with the gun, but you hear the Halloween music in the background, it is so, to this day, I get chills just thinking about how cool that is. I hope they do echo something like that in 7. So I think immediately, not to mention Randy's quotes about Jamie Lee, and she's got, and their conversation with Stu, they felt very intertwined. Obviously, Scream is shown in the Halloween movies. So yeah, they feel like part and parcel to one another.
So, what other movie did that, TJ, is Scream 4, whenever they're at the Stabathon and the score of Stab becomes the score of Scream 4 when Gail is being chased around,
Are you equating Stab
No, I'm not.
to Halloween?
That was a poorly thought through.
The barn sequence. Good. Look, can we do a whole episode on the barn sequence? I'll burn that barn to the ground.
Okay, so
I want to say I do like when TJ said, I think we've kind of came around on what relates and also makes the 80s slashers versus the 90s. For example, Scream. What makes them different but also the same is the fact that I really like the bad guys, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, are Sidney Prescott then, which is his. I like that, it became less about the villain and more about the hero and the story. I like that kind of centered that. I like that you found that out. That actually makes a lot of sense.
No, and it also makes sense that Scream 6 is more in that vein of being about the villain than the hero, right? I'm teasing. I'm making a Robe reference. I'm sorry. I'm insufferable. We're going back to that.
I think Amar came at you pretty hard one time about his different opinion of Sam in 6 in the robe. And I was just like, get him, Amar, get him. And so, Amar, if you're hearing this, good on you for challenging Ryan on the Sam in the costume in 6. But again, that's a whole other conversation as well.
So Amar, okay, no, listen, Amar did that, but I still won the argument, I believe, because I think he came around and said, in typical Amar fashion, oh no, Ryan, I think you're right about that. So
well,
I think I
we
win.
all have to just like kiss the ring at some point, I suppose.
So, but let's talk here about these 4 franchises. I'm interested because I don't know what your rankings are. Josh, how do you rank Scream, Halloween, Nightmare, and Friday?
I think Scream's at the top, just quality-wise, top to bottom. They're better quality. But this is where it gets tough for me because I really enjoy Friday the 13th. I could watch a Friday the 13th any time of the year, but it feels right to watch Halloween when it gets crispy outside, when it gets cool, the leaves are falling, football season. So for that reason, it's going to be Scream, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay. TJ, what's your ranking?
Oh my goodness.
So I made a bet with myself, no one else, in my own head. I was talking to myself, so I was like, TJ is going to spite me, and he's going to put Scream last just to mess with me.
No, I honestly thought at the beginning of this conversation, we were just going to take it off the table and it'd be like, that's 1. And then we were all just going to kind of battle for 2, 3, and 4. But no, I mean, I think, God, I hate to give you credit. Here we go. Let me swallow my pride. Okie dokie. So it wasn't until Scream 5 and when I started listening to your podcast that I solidified that Scream was my favorite.
Ka-ching.
It was just like, I had this moment of like, I never really cared too much about like having a favorite slasher or favorite horror or anything like that. I have my favorite movie, which is not in the horror world at all. Shout out Almost Famous. But I just didn't really like lean hard one way or the other. And then when it came to 5 and I kind of rewatched all the old ones that I had, and I just was like, wow, I'm realizing at this point in my life that my appreciation for this franchise and my emotional connection to this franchise and the way I dressed up as Ghostface as a kid, and when I first saw the movie in 1996 and I saw them all in theaters minus the first one, and by the time Wilmington was featured in 5, it just felt like, oh, that this is my thing. And then when I started listening to the podcast and I heard a bunch of other people talking in the same way, it felt like, okay, this is it. This is my number 1. So it was around that time I made that firm decision. Scream is number 1. Number 2 is tricky. As I look up at my brilliant VHS collection where I have just so many amazing entries from all these different franchises, I mean, it's tough. What do you say? Are you ranking these in cultural importance? Are you ranking these in like overall strength when you take up and you add up all the individual critical responses to all the movie? Are we just saying which one nostalgic wise means the most to you? I mean, I think the easy answer is to go Halloween 2, but I am going to say that I think Friday the 13th, if I was on a desert island, I'm taking Friday the 13th. As number 2 for being able to throw on a different Friday, throw on 1 and have an experience, throw on Jason X and have a completely different experience, throw on Jason Takes Manhattan and have a completely different experience. All the characters that they go through, all the ridiculous scenarios and kills. I'm taking Friday the 13th for its longevity. I'm so excited about that they finally have this show coming out. I'm so excited that apparently they're working out the rights so they can get a movie together. That one, the last one that came out, the remake, the reboot, and I believe 2009, $40 million opening weekend. People loved this character. I think next to Ghostface, you see him even more than you see Michael Myers on stuff. I mean, people love Jason. So I think it's just, they're leaving so much money on the table by not figuring out the rights. I mean, they're just burning money. So I'm going Friday the 13th second. And then, man, yeah, I feel like a bit of a homer when I do this. But yeah, I'll go 3 Halloween undeniably. And I'll round out. Nightmare on Elm Street is the one that I've revisited the sequels the least. I've obviously seen them all multiple times. I have a great affinity for Nightmare Part 4 in particular is my favorite sequel. I think it is just amazing and so good. And they have some great final girls too in the Nightmare franchise other than Nancy, which is really fun. There is some continuity in between those final girls from movie to movie, unlike some of the Friday the 13th. So that's really cool. Oh God, now I'm thinking, should I put Nightmare 3rd? Josh, what do you think, man?
It's up to you, T.
Man, okay. For the sake of conversation, I'm gonna do Nightmare 3rd, Halloween 4th, because the Rob Zombie shit is bullshit, and Halloween 5 is just unwatchable. So that's my ranking: Scream, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, then Halloween. cherry blossom bullshit.
Wow. Ryan Showers has gotten owned tonight because my ranking is very different. Poor Halloween. God. It's fucking Halloween season. How dare you folks? Okay. So my ranking is Scream, obviously, number 1. No questions asked. For the other 3, it's actually very easy for me. And I'm sorry because I'm going to be opposite of my 2 friends here. But Halloween is second. Easy because, again, I think it has such a strong narrative within the Jamie Lee Curtis films. And I love the themes of family. I love the themes of evil. I think it's also fun to go through the different timelines, go through the Jamie Lloyd, because, that's different thematically than, the H2O, and that's different from Blumhouse. Like, that's fun to me. I think it's interesting to compare and contrast. With Nightmare, I go with Nightmare 3. Because of Wes, hashtag for Wes. And I also, the Heather Langenkamp movies are really strong, creative. And that's the thing about A Nightmare on Elm Street, why I give it the edge over Friday. Because, I am not an expert in Friday or Nightmare. I know enough about Nightmare with the Heather Langenkamp movies. The non-Heather movies, I am a dud with. I know a little bit about part 2 because it's the gay movie, but the others, 4, 5, and 6, what the fuck? I don't, I couldn't tell you anything about them. I've seen them, but it is what it is. So Friday the 13th, though, I enjoy watching them. They're very, you put them on and it flows, right? But I wouldn't be able to sit down and tell you the plots of those movies. I wouldn't be able to sit down and tell you the arc of those movies or even just the specific characters. It's hard for me to decipher or to talk about. And maybe that's my own lack of education with Friday the 13th. Maybe I need to spend more time with them, but they just aren't specific enough to me for me to be to recognize them in the same way that I can even recognize A Nightmare on Elm Street, if that makes sense.
It's not just you. And can I borrow a phrase from the youth that I hear way too much from people that are too old to be saying it? Coded. Everything's coded. Well, Friday the 13th is very straight dude coded. Let's be quite honest. So I do not hold it against you one bit for not flocking to it as easily as someone as me and Josh, because out of all the franchises, they are the least considerate of some of the more intellectual and female first storylines and characters and things like that. And it really, really is just catnip for straight dudes who like watching horror movies and hot girls and partying and that kind of.
Meanwhile, I need my gloomy girl and my sassy girl to, make me feel complete.
Gotta have a gloomy girl and a sassy girl for Ryan C. Showers to get wet.
Okay, well, gentlemen, I feel like you guys kind of are forcing my hand here. Scream is first, which I can live with. I mean, that's what I want. But here we go. This is not what I was expecting. The ranking is Scream, Friday, Nightmare, Halloween. Wow, that hurts. Can Halloween be third and Nightmare be last, please?
How was that the consensus? You just averaged out the 3? I thought Josh had Halloween higher, right?
No.
Halloween was 3 for me.
Yeah, but you had it last.
And you had it second.
Yeah, but you had a second.
Okay, so let's do this again. Okay, so Ryan was Scream, Halloween, Nightmare, Friday. Josh was Scream, Friday, Halloween, Nightmare. And you were Scream, Friday, Nightmare, Halloween, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I added up the numbers, for first, second, third, and fourth places. Scream got 3. Friday got 8. Halloween... no, sorry, I was wrong. See? Gay, blonde, I can't do math. So it is what it is. So the ranking is Scream, Friday the 13th. I can't believe Friday the 13th came in second on my show. What the fuck? Third, Halloween. Fourth, Nightmare. Sorry, Wes. The Straight Bros let you down.
No, we
This is a
didn't, because
Straight
we
Bro
picked
episode.
Scream. Scream was
Yeah.
first. We didn't let him down.
Okay, that's fine. I guess Wes is bookending the best and the worst. Poor guy.
And can I just say what is the first substantial conversation in the Scream franchise about another franchise? What franchise is that about?
Halloween. Do you know the one with the guy in the white mask
Substantial, I said.
who walks around in socks,
They
babysitters?
go right past that. We're talking about the killers. We're asking questions about Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
I
I
know
know.
they mentioned Halloween, but you know.
Okay, well, the Straight Bros won. They won this. I can't believe that this is a victory.
Thank God, straight white guys won finally.
On the Scream with Ryan C. Showers podcast, the gays have been set aside. Well, actually, no, we won because we have Scream in first place, but it's not enough. I'm greedy. Fun. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? I don't mean to take over here, Ryan. Can I ask a quick question? Okay, great. I would love to hear from both of y'all your favorite entry of each of the other franchises. We talk about Scream enough in terms of our favorite. Josh, favorite Friday, favorite Nightmare, favorite Halloween,
And favorite Scream, because you can include that.
and don't talk about let's exclude the first entries of all of them. Like
So
let's
we're
talk
going
about
with
the sequels.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna
I'll go first to get it started. Y'all can think.
Okay.
My favorite nightmare is 4. The idea that this friend group is dying, and as each one dies, the powers of the friend that dies goes into our protagonist. I just think it's such a fun kind of like superhero-esque story. It's so ridiculous. So that's my favorite nightmare. My favorite Friday the 13th, for a while it was 4, but I recently saw 4 in theaters, and I'm realizing how allergic I am to kids always, but certainly the Corey Feldman performance just like kind of. So I'm going 2, Friday the 13th Part 2 for me, which I think a lot of folks quite like. And then my favorite Halloween sequel, I mean, it feels cheap to say 2 just because everyone says 2. So I'll go out on a limb and say I really think Part 4, The Return of Michael Myers, is like a pretty cool, fun, like throwback slasher movie. So I'll say 4 for Halloween.
And what's your favorite Scream sequel? 6. Teasing.
No, it's 2. I mean, it's 2.
I know.
Come on.
The funny thing about TJ and me having conflict is like his ranking is 2, 1, 3, and then 6. By the way that we talk to each other, you would think that Scream 6 is his number 1 ranked. But he's
It
not
is
that
so
loser.
impressive that you are like a ditzy blonde, but you are like a Rain Man. You are Rain Man when it comes to knowing everyone's ranking. It is insane. Kudos
Yeah.
to you.
I have like a filing cabinet in my brain of all of the Patreons and everyone I've ever met who I've talked to Scream about and what their ranking is and what their opinions are. Speaking of, J-Man, what do you
Let's
think?
just hope you followed the right ranking for this collaborative thing we did with the rankings with Scream and the because you got it wrong the first time.
I did. I'm math. It's like I'm a lawyer. We don't do math. We do words.
So TJ, my Friday was my favorite. Was actually flipped. It used to be 2, and then
Oh.
it became 4. I like that version of Jason the best. That and 3 are the best to me. But Ted White was awesome. So it's 4 for its final chapter for me. 3, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, with that Dream Warriors, and then
Return of Nancy.
You're right. And then the Halloween, it's also 4. Something about that opening, the whole movie in general, but the opening when they're showing like the farm and everything, it's just, it captures Halloween. Although I know Ryan says he doesn't care about the mask, but the mask in 4.
The Mask in 4 sucks. It's terrible.
It leaves some to be desired. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But looking past that, I really enjoyed that one.
I'm texting Jamie Lee Curtis right now and being like, these fucking straight men, they left me out to dry and they did not pick a Laurie movie for their favorite Halloween sequel. First, they gave me a hard time and put stupid generic Friday the 13th over Halloween. Then they didn't say a Jamie Lee Curtis sequel. What is this? So, okay.
Tell her I like her performance in The Bear. I'm a big fan.
All right. Josh, your favorite Scream sequel?
Well, recently, I say recently, over the last, 4 or 5 months, it became 3. Look, TJ, I got to give him his props again, like you did earlier. It used to be 1, 2, and 3, and I find myself watching 3, honestly, more than any of them, just going back and watching 3. Maybe it's to get clips for you when you say stuff, and then I end up watching more than I probably should. But yeah, it's 3 right now.
Propaganda worked. Ka-ching. Yay. Just teasing. Scream, obviously 3. No explanation needed. In fact, you can listen to all 249 episodes before this to figure out why Scream 3 is my favorite. Halloween, I'm going with Halloween H2O. I'm surprised neither of you said H2O. I thought one of you would. Sad.
It's the
So
80s is it's what we
okay. So whatever. So for Nightmare on Elm Street, this is hard because like the Ryan normally would say 3. I think that 3 is so creative. I think each of those kills is so cool. And in the hospital, I love Nancy's role. I love the father. I like her death. I think there's a lot of beauty in that movie. I'm gonna go New Nightmare though. I think New Nightmare. There are some
Talk about
problems.
annoying kid.
I know. But this is like such a smart movie. And I read this book called The Soul of Wes Craven while I was away on vacation, and it really made me more endeared to New Nightmare, even despite its flaws. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I think it's so brilliant, and I think Wes was really onto something, and it really laid the blueprint for Scream. So right now, I'm going to go New Nightmare. I also think it's Heather Langenkamp's best performance, and it's like, kind of in the vein of what we're getting with Scream 7, which is about her family, about the final girl's family, which I like, as a mom. So there's that. Friday the 13th, oh my God. I would go Part 4. I just find that movie to be, like, I feel like the materialization of the first 4 movies, right? Because we don't really, this is when we get Jason, right? This is the full-fledged, like, no compromises Jason. And I just find the characters in that to be kind of more vivid and colorful and more fun. I don't know.
Crispin Glover in 4 is undeniably one of the most impressive actors in the entire franchise. And if I may, first of all, Ryan, that list, I could have told you that list before you even said it. That is the most fucking Ryan C. Showers list ever.
What's your least favorite movie in each franchise? That's a good question, Mr. Like, oh, let's talk about the negatives in Scream 3. What's your least favorite in each of these franchises? If you guys need a second to think, I can go.
You want me to do yours for you?
What are my least favorites today?
All right, your least favorite Scream is 6. Your least favorite Jason is Jason X. Your least favorite Friday the 13th. You're probably gonna be like edgy and try and be cool. So you're like, you don't like Nightmare 2 because you're like don't think it's cool that it's gay. So you're gonna say 2 for Nightmare, and then for Halloween, your least favorite is gonna be Resurrection. That's your list. I nailed it.
Nope. So Scream 6, of course, gross.
Wait, hold on. Is it Freddy's Dead? Is it part 6?
Yes, part 6.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to be clever with that whole gay thing, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that was
objectively the worst.
that was a cute effort. I will give you that because that is something that I would do.
Yeah, it was.
But and then it's not Jason X. Jason Goes to Hell would be my least ranked movie for Friday.
I should have
Jason
known
X-
as an Alien fan, you would have gone with Jason X as not being as bad. I should have known.
Right, exactly.
Halloween.
Halloween, you were wrong. Rob Zombie. Do you think I can watch a Rob Zombie movie? Really?
But I feel like that almost doesn't count. But yeah, fair enough. Which
The
one is it
remake.
though? Which
The
one?
remake, the first one. I
Yeah.
hate it. I can't watch it. I'm repulsed by it. Like it's disgusting to me. I literally it hurts my body to watch that first remake. At least the second one is cool and artsy.
Okay. Josh, least favorite?
My least favorite Friday is also
Jason Goes to Hell.
Jason Goes to Hell. The Freddy's Dead. I'm not a fan of part 6. And then let's see, where Halloween. Yeah, it's probably one of the Rob Zombie ones. I actually like the first Rob Zombie one more than the second one. So I'll do H2 as my least favorite. And look, normally TJ kind of rubbed off on me when he was defending Resurrection, because I did watch Resurrection after that with a different lens. And I had a lot of fun with it. It's very silly. I still think
got
it's
it on VHS today.
a
Y'all saw it.
little.
I sent you a picture.
It's a little too silly when Busta Rhymes is telling Michael Myers, get out of here in Scream 6.
Yay! Suck it, TJ.
Scream 4 with a bullet. I think Jason Goes to Hell arguably has the best opening sequence of the entire franchise. The opening to Jason Goes to Hell is fucking awesome. So that alone makes it more better than part 5. The whole like fake out of 5 where it's like not actually Jason, it's somebody else. Like there are cool things in it, but that movie's also just like batshit bizarre, like grindhouse ridiculous. I mean, I like it, but it's
It
like
is.
yeah, it's insane. When it comes to Nightmare with a bullet as well, it's New Nightmare. I think that as much as I respect it, and I think it's so cool and its hypothesis, I think in execution it just does not work. I'd rather like watch this stupid ass shit going on in Freddy's Dead with like the video games and yada yada. And in terms of Halloween, yeah, I find 5 unwatchable. I don't know the director's name who came in and took over for 5, but I believe he was not American and he came
He's a
with this
French guy.
sensibility. Yeah, he came in with this like crazy French style and like pushing in on the little girl crying and freaking out. And it took what was cool. I mean, fucking 4 has that great ending. I mean, objectively, what an amazing ending. Where we think the little girl is the killer. And then it just kind of like the way they treat that in 5, it totally just seems like it fucks it. Yeah, so that's my ranking.
Does it surprise you to find out that I actually like 5?
No.
I like the European influence on it. Like, sure, do they flop the ending of Halloween 4? Yes. But to do the ending of Halloween 4 correctly, you would probably have to abandon Michael, in the sequel, and they weren't going to do that. I mean, it's not a perfect movie. I do find Tina annoying, but like I don't like the house, like that they pretend like they retcon the house, which I think is
So
dumb.
bad. So bad.
But otherwise, I think I like the style. So okay, gentlemen, before we go, I have one last question for you about the slasher shit. And that is, how do we rank the villains? Okay, so we have Ghostface, and we're just counting the costume. We're not counting like the individuals. Face, Michael, Freddy, and Jason.
It's a good question. That's different for me. That's a different list.
My list would be different as well. So, Josh, do you want to go first, or do you want TJ to go first? How do we rank them as villains?
I'll go
Okay.
first.
Here we go.
Okay.
I got he is the most iconic, I would say, even over our buddy Ghostface. I think Michael Myers with the theme song that he has and that mask, I just think it is such a cultural icon that I'll go Michael first. I will go Ghostface second because I think in addition to the mask, the the voice on the phone makes it just such a specific and awesome character that you can just chew up like scenery. And I'll go, man, I'll go Freddy because they have basically killed Jason and haven't let him make a movie in, 15, 20 years almost. So I'll go that order. Michael, Ghostface, Freddy, Jason.
Okay. Josh?
Pretty much the same. I'm going to go Michael, Ghostface, Jason.
Okay. Wow. We just don't like Nightmare.
And you're
on this
gonna
panel.
go Roman.
No, actually, Roman, Jill, big space. I'm just teasing.
Where's Detective Bailey fall on your list?
Behind Jason. Jason Voorhees, not Carvey. So, okay, so I would do, it's hard because like as characters, right? Now I could go into some bullshit Ryan C. Showers psychoanalysis of like how the ghost of Ghostface reflects Maureen Prescott, and that's why it's so symbolic and significant into Sydney's life. I'm not going to do that because TJ's going to fucking punch me in the face. But I also agree, Michael goes first, despite the lack of personality, but that's what makes him great. I'll go Freddy second.
Ooh.
Because he has such a larger-than-life personality and he is genuinely scary. Ghostface 3, even though he is my heart, I have so many Ghostface images in my house, it's unreal. And then Jason last. Like, Jason is just nothing to me. So I wouldn't, I would let Michael hit it. I would not let Jason hit it.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. I think he is definitely a sexier man than Jason.
So, gents, this was an amazing conversation. Any final thoughts here as we wrap up?
I think it was
Josh?
a delightful conversation. Learned some stuff with what we were going to say tonight as far as the franchises of the 80s, 90s, how we ranked them. It's always fun to talk about them. And again, it was a genuine pleasure being here with you guys.
I think we learned a lot today. We got deep physically, mentally, spiritually.
deep.
Ryan wanted to get deeper, but I think that overall there was a little bit of something for everybody. I think it was a lot of fun. Ryan, that's the beauty of the shower verse. You bring people together of different walks of life and we can talk about the things that we love. And that's what this episode was all about. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listened to all 250 episodes of the show. I don't know how many people have hit every single one. There's a couple of you out there. Thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. This was a fun discussion. And everybody, please stay tuned for the rest of the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next segment of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Again, thank you for being here for the 250th episode of this podcast. Oh my gosh. So even though it's been 250 episodes for Scream Talk and everything related to Scream, it's been about 50-ish for Taylor Swift since we've done Taylor Swift segments. So because we started it, the very first Taylor Swift segment was in episode 199, but really we really started it in episode 200 with Long Live. It was me, Jacob, Amar, I believe Sarah Campbell, and my friend Ashley. Everybody, please welcome Ashley.
Congratulations, Ryan. This is amazing. 250.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I can't even believe that. That's insane.
Can you believe that we've been through 50 Taylor Swift segments, though? That's kind of crazy, too.
No, I can't.
So I have a question for you about the Taylor Swift segments. So does your relationship with the song change after we do the segment, like after we do our kind of deep dive? Because I go through a process with each song. So after we pick the songs, we know what we're going to do. I listen over and over and over. I kind of do my analysis and I listen to some other people's. I know you don't really do that, but do you change it all?
I think so too much. I think because in my brain, I've analyzed all of them so intensely already. I do think sometimes I get a different perspective based on what you say and how you interpret certain lines and stuff. But I don't think there's ever been one that was this whole thing has changed my mind. Maybe when we get to some of my lesser, there's a few songs that I just don't listen to as often. I mean, and then there's a couple where I'm I don't really love this song.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe after one of those, if your thoughts are so different than mine that I see a different perspective. But I know everyone's going to be Ashley doesn't like every single Taylor Swift song. I don't dislike them. They just aren't my favorites. But I think so many of them feel so close to me that it's hard for me to change my feelings on them. If anything, I've probably just started to like them more.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. For me, it's weird because again, I haven't been a Swiftie as long as you, and I haven't been a Swiftie as intensely for as long as you. But it's funny because like the songs, there have been some songs where after we go through them, I like them so much more. Like Cornelia Street, that is like that's a top 10 song for me after we kind of went through it and had it this summer. And then there's some songs like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like Maroon, it's not my top song from Midnights anymore.
It's just one of those things where I feel like at different points in your life too, a song might hit harder and you might relate to it more, or something you might just kind of listen to it without doing like such like an in-depth thoughts process on it. And something like Cornelia Street, once you like really listen to it, it is like so thought provoking. And like there's so many moments where she uses like different themes and stuff throughout that song that you're just kind of like, wow, I wasn't even really like thinking about this song in this way. And that's probably one thing I love about Taylor Swift's lyrics is that there's all these fun ways of like analyzing them. But I will say my favorite way to discover a new way of looking at a Taylor Swift song is finding someone who isn't a huge Swiftie and having them listen to it, because they're so much more like open to like, sometimes they're like, no, you tell me. And I'm like, no, you tell me what you think. Because if you don't know any of the lore, it's so much fun to hear what they have to say. And I feel like there's like always like a journey. Like they'll be like, well, who is this about? And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, don't find out who the songs are about. Like it's so much more fun for you to like connect to all of them. And I just, for me anyways, I feel like Taylor just has like kind of like given us her diary entries for so long that who hasn't wanted to read somebody else's diary before?
If you think about it, so 50 episodes out of 250 episodes, what is that? That's like, that's like what, 15-20% of the episodes we've done of the show ever have had Taylor Swift segments. It's crazy to step back and think about it that way. And I just appreciate you helping me grow the show. You're such a beloved person in the Patreon, and I love your the zazz you have for the show, Scream, and Taylor, of course.
Oh, well, thank you. And I truly love everybody that is in the group. I think it's really fun and healthy to have a group where we can communicate about horror movies and Scream and Taylor and any pop culture references and talk about what we like and what we don't like. And I feel like everybody tries really hard to be respectful. And that's what's really fun about it, is that we can talk about why we liked a character and why we didn't. And it's like, that's fun. And there's no animosity
Yeah.
and or anger towards it. And I mean, like, unless you came for like Sydney Prescott, then like maybe I'd be angry. But other than that,
Well, there's a lot to celebrate. Not only 250 episodes of Scream with Ryan C. Showers, not only Scream 7's coming up, we got some news. So Ashley, why don't you hit us with what has been going on with Taylor Swift since we've been on hiatus and leading up to this 250th episode?
honestly, Ryan, you need to go on hiatus more because Taylor really delivered all of this stuff all at once.
Right? I mean, like, I was literally editing the episode for All Too Well, like the day before the podcast. So Ashley, what happened on this podcast? What is the podcast?
So Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, two NFL football players who are both probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. They have a pretty successful podcast called New Heights. And I've listened to the podcast for a while, even before Taylor was involved in it, because my fiance Garrett loves the Kansas City Chiefs, has since he was 5. So for the past 10 years, that makes me a Kansas City Chiefs fan because I am ride or die for my partner. I'm just saying in the past, I was ride or die for those ones too. But so I think we all know that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are dating. And Taylor went on the New Heights podcast to announce her new album that is coming in October 3rd, Mean Girls Day. And it is called The Life of a Showgirl. And I literally was just so incredibly excited. And like Ryan was out of town and I was like messaging him like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And when I know he's doing something important, I try not to send him like crazy things. And Ryan like calls me in between
My
like
work
one
conferences,
hectic
yeah.
moment to another hectic moment to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Just because we weren't expecting it to happen. And also Taylor doing like an hour and something interview that was super intimate and fun and super intriguing. Even if you're not a huge football fan or a huge Taylor Swift fan, I think that interview could be really fun. Jason Kelce, I really admire like his question, like how he's able to ask questions. Like I found in the past podcasts that I've watched or listened to that I really enjoy the questions he asks. And it was really fun watching your favorite artist talk about making an album and what we can maybe expect, but also seeing her seem genuinely really, really happy and having her partner hype her up so much. And so, like, having two big, burly, jock, straight, cis white men just come who are a lot of times the negative group when it comes to female musicians, just hyping her up so much and talking about how proud they of her that they are. And I think it was really, really fun. I've always enjoyed the Kelsey brothers. I think they're goofy and silly and don't take themselves too seriously. It seems like they're quite respected in the football world and by their peers. And I think it's a really fun podcast, especially if you want to learn about sports. If you're wanting to get into that world, it's really fun. But the way that Taylor opened up in that interview was something I'd never seen before as a fan. I've been a fan since 2006, so it felt really genuine and just sweet.
It was the perfect opportunity for her to give an interview like that because, despite how much we know about her through her music and through what she gives us in the smaller interviews and what she posts, we don't know. We've never seen her like that. We've never seen her so raw or so, like you said, vulnerable and intimate. And to sit there for 2 hours basically and talk through everything. She was able to really talk about her masters. She hasn't talked about her masters other than just the letters she wrote. So to talk about that, to see her and Travis in action as a couple, and the way that she cheers on him, he cheers on her. I think that you can't really, I couldn't imagine watching that podcast or listening to it and thinking any negative thing about them as a couple. I think their connection's so real. And, I want to share, so my favorite quote ever, not ever, but maybe ever, came from this podcast. And it really helped me look at my life and really, I actually have a picture of it as the background on my phone.
It was such a good quote. And I literally was like, oh my God. You can interpret it however you want, but I think it's vital to self-preservation and mental health.
So, she was talking about the publicity and the attention she has of the media and how everyone is just on her life and has an opinion about her life. And she says this: you should think of your energy like it's a luxury item. Not everyone can afford it. Oh my God. See, this is why, so many of us love her. It's just a perfect example of who she is and her talents to take an idea, take a philosophy and put it into the perfect words. And everybody in the world can understand this,
Yeah. And I saw some people being taking the quote and commenting, being like, oh, that's pretty rich for a billionaire. And I was like, do you not understand what she's saying? I was like,
Yes.
she's not actually talking about I was just like, she's not saying that you can't afford it, but yeah, you can't afford it because you don't understand what she's saying. She's saying that some people aren't worth your time. Some people aren't worth getting upset over. Some people because they're just not. And I think that's so true. And I think it's something that as I've gotten older, I have really tried to learn, but also I might tell a friend that, but to actually take it on and be like, I don't care what this person thinks. Ryan and I get interesting comments on stuff that we post sometimes. Obviously, Ryan to a bigger extent than me. But I find sometimes there'll be something critical about something, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's actually really good. You know what? I can take that as constructive criticism. That's fine. But sometimes it will make me laugh so hard because I was like, this person is just so silly about being upset about this or that or being critical of a stranger over this. And I find it funny now. And Garrett and I will laugh at stuff like that together now and we'll joke about it. And it's just a way of letting go of that negativity. And I'm like, yeah, they can't afford the amount of time I put into this or the amount of time Ryan puts into something or and just having the perspective of just finding it funny. I remember one time somebody commented on a post that I made that ended up doing pretty well. It was a Taylor Swift post a year or so ago. And somebody was like, get a job. You're so pathetic or something. And I can't currently work because I am dealing with a chronic illness. And the way that that made me cackle laughing. But on a bad day, that could have actually been a devastating blow to my to something, like, especially a few years ago, but I thought it was so funny now. And like, that's the thing is that it's just like that person isn't worth my time because they don't know me. They don't know anything that's going on in my life. And like, and I was like, I'm literally posting on social media. Like, you literally do the same thing, dude. Like, you're
Yeah.
posting, like, what are you talking about? And like, people don't always deserve your energy. And I think protecting your energy is so important. And I think that's what she's saying.
One thing she said is that in this podcast interview, which I recommend everybody listen to. I think even if you don't love Taylor Swift, and I force you to listen to us talk about her every week, you should listen to this. I think it would change your mind, and I think it shows a really human side of her that's really impressive. But
Just a nerdy girl, a
yes,
goofy, weird girl.
but she talked about her re-records versus her originals, and she talked about what her favorite re-record was, and it was like a double win for Ryan. I mean, I'm not trying, because like I literally just 2 days ago said, well, it doesn't really matter that Kevin Williamson said that Scream 6 is his favorite, but here I'm just gonna point it out. So she says that Red is her favorite re-record, and that she prefers a lot of the Taylor's versions to the originals, which is just funny because this is a conversation that Ashley and I have, often, right? Ashley is 1989 in originals, and I'm Red in Taylor's version, right? So it's just funny. I'm sorry.
My eyes, because I'm like, what is she gonna do? I'd be like, oh guys, I released all this shit for you to buy, and I thought it was worse.
I know. Okay. Fair enough. She's a smart businesswoman. Okay.
But no, I agree. I don't think she would release something if she wasn't super proud of it. And yeah, she pretty much, because I think what was the question? Jason was asking her, what should we listen to now? And she was like,
Yeah.
listen to whatever you want. Like,
Exactly.
if you have the nostalgia. And I do. I listen to both. There are
Me
a couple
too.
songs that I will stand by saying that the original is 100% better, just due to some of like the production elements I think sound better. But I will say, like, her vocal ability obviously has become way better than when she was 16,
Right.
which is also just,
Duh.
dealing with actual like becoming a woman.
Right.
Your voice changes and it develops. And there are some songs, especially through like like in the Fearless album, that
Hmm.
I love so much more listening to the Taylor's version, because I think it's capturing the song a little bit better. I love 1989 for sure, the original, but I will say I do love Taylor's version, Red, mostly because of All Too Well,
Yeah.
10-minute version. Like, I mean, without it, we wouldn't have it. And I'm just like, Scooter Braun, the only good thing you kind of did was give us these re-records.
Yes.
Whatever, you creepy weirdo.
So, in part of the big allure of this podcast, not only was her getting the opportunity to show us what she and Travis are like as a couple and how they connect, and go into deep personal details about the past couple of years of her life. She also announced her new album, which is called The Life of a Showgirl. And this has been such a fun journey because all of the news that we're talking about happened within a period of 2 weeks. And if you are a savvy Taylor Swift person, you know Fortnite means a period of 2 weeks. And that was, of course, the lead single and the first track on the Torture Poets department last year. So she is really the queen of just making everything into an Easter egg. And she even talked about Easter eggs. She talked about like having something above a door frame upside down in Braille. We love that. But so she announced The Life of a Showgirl. It comes out on October 3rd, as Ashley said earlier. Not only is it Mean Girls Day, it's Nev Campbell's birthday. It's 10 plus 3 equals 13, which is her favorite number. And now it's Life of a Showgirl Day. We are entering a new era, Ash.
I know. I am so excited. It sounds like she wrote like some really, to me, it sounds like it's probably going to be a more pop forward album, based on what she said. And with Max Martin and Shellback being the sole producers on the album, I feel like that is probably a good hint. But I'm kind of like, I'm dreaming about really fun beats, but like really sad lyrics, or really fun storytelling told by really catchy like melodies and music. And I am so excited. This is the first album that I've ever seen promotion for that I go, could this be my favorite album over 1989? Just because of how she described it and the colors and because like I love sad plus pop. Like if you add those together, or like something really catchy but something that like really tells a story. I am so excited. I don't think I've mentioned this, but I'm moving in probably the beginning of this new year, and then to realize that we were going to get a new album before I moved, like I literally was like, holy crap. Like it just wasn't, I didn't think it was going to happen. And I thought it was going to be a while, but
Mind
just like,
blown.
yeah, the new album and then the podcast. And I was just like, what more? What more could Taylor deliver? What more could be happening in the Swiftie universe? It's just been, it's been so fun to have something positive
Mm-hmm.
to. I think sometimes people forget that. They're like, oh, it's so cringe, it's so crazy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm sorry. The world is really crappy in a lot of ways. And sometimes it's fun just to talk about the pop star that I like.
So, the thing about On the Life of a Showgirl is it seems like this is an album, and she talks about this in the podcast, like, but that she really wants to do, like that she's been itching to do, and the story she wants to tell. And it's just so perfectly timed after the Eras tour. You can tell the passion that she has for this, and even the photo shoot, and how much energy that she's put into these spreads and like the outfits. It's so glamorous. I'm just excited to. The thing I'm most looking forward to is just seeing what she has to say about her life, seeing the story that she's going to tell. It's exciting. It's, especially because, she's taken the constructive criticism from the Torture Post department, which is it was too long and unedited and just kind of, so much of her thoughts. With this, she's talking about she wants to make only 12 songs that are concise, that are extremely catchy, that, get stuck in your head, all radio fun pop songs. And I think, but with deep meaning. So it's going to be really awesome. And I'm just so excited that this is like the first era that we get to do with Scream with Ryan C. Showers, like in real time. And Ashley and I are going to go through and make predictions for The Life of a Showgirl down the road before the album comes out again on Nev's birthday, which is fun. So, but yeah.
It all connects.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I
Yeah.
need to make a meme of that, of Aaron Samuels asking Katie Heron, what day is it today? And she says October 3rd, and then but like actually change it to Nev Campbell's birthday and and the release
Of The Life of a Showgirl. Well, it's all an Easter egg. To round out this exciting news set of Taylor Swift, so we had the podcast interview with Travis, and we got the album rollout, all the promotion for it, and then the end of the fortnight, it was announced that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged to be married, and she posted this on Instagram. I have to ask, Ashley, where were you when you found out the news?
I think I was watching a live trial because y'all, I love watching, I love I love learning about the justice system and different popular cases. Like I like to watch what's happening and see if I agree with what happens or not, as if I really know what I'm talking about. But my friend texted me and almost every single word was spelt wrong, and it said Trava we were or something like that. And I was like, Travis is getting married to Taylor Swift.
You do.
Like I somehow knew what she was saying, and then I put what question mark, and then she said go to Instagram. So I did, and there I met with the most beautiful pictures. And I will just like to say this. Okay, this comes with like I understand that I have a little bit of a parasocial relationship going on here. Okay, I understand that Taylor Swift does not know who I am.
Yeah.
Do I want her to? No, because that scares me. Like the thought of her even being in the same vicinity of me terrifies me. But I will also say, anytime I see anybody post something
Mm-hmm.
that they're happy about going on in their life, whether it's they bought a house or they just got the best Diet Coke from McDonald's of their life, or they got engaged, or they adopted a new pet, I am excited. And so why wouldn't I be excited for this person who has been, quote unquote, in my life as somebody who has helped me through all of my sadness? Why wouldn't I be excited when she's expressing her happiness?
Right.
Like I'm stoked for them. And Travis Kelce has been one of my favorite football players for the past 10 years. When I finally discovered what football really was like, dating Garrett, I picked him because I thought he was hot. And I was like, he could be my new favorite player. And like now he really isn't my favorite, but I love him and I'm just happy for them. I'm like, when Beyonce announced she was pregnant, I was happy. When like, I don't know,
Ariana got
when any,
Wicked. Yeah.
yeah, when any people are talking about something that makes them happy, I'm happy. And when I saw the caption of like your favorite English teacher and gym teacher are getting married, I thought that was so just like goofy and silly. And then having So High School as like the song playing, and the pictures were so sweet and beautiful. And like this woman has been writing about wanting to find romance and true love her whole life. And well, that's what I was going to say about the podcast is she said that like Travis Kelce went on his podcast and said that he was disappointed he didn't get to meet Taylor Swift because he wanted to give her a friendship bracelet with his phone number on it. And she said, that's pretty much what I've been writing songs about my whole life.
It
Is a
is.
really sweet, big, not creepy gesture
Yeah.
of somebody saying, I really want to take that girl out on a date. I saw how amazing she was performing and I was just blown away. And I wanted to be like, hey, can I meet her? Like, she seems really amazing. And like, she's literally been talking about that her whole life about, and like, I'm sorry, but like, it's okay to like, as a woman and as a feminist or whatever you want to call us, to still want to find that storybook, fun, loving relationship, no matter how that looks for you and who that person or persons are, whoever it is that makes you feel fulfilled. Like, why can't we be happy for each other? Like, and I am so fucking excited for her. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. Like, I was just like, I love happiness.
Well, it's not that I feel like we have a parasocial relationship with her. And I think it's more so she feels like a close personal friend because we know so much about her life for so long and because of the lyrics and because of the art, and because of how personal it is, but also the way she expresses it, it's like instead of saying, "Oh, you broke my heart," she says, "Your heart was glass, I dropped it," right? It's the execution of how she has described so much of her life and the world and human emotion and human connection to us. It has made us feel like we are so close to her. And it's not just me and it's not just you being super, fanboys. This is something that she has created for an extraordinary amount of people. And so it feels like a close personal friend has fulfilled this thing, right? And I don't know. It's just like 19 years of listening to her grow and experience this kind of heartbreak and this kind of heartbreak and becoming a woman and becoming an adult and growing up. And then to see her have this moment after going through so many shitty guys and growing as a person. I think it shouldn't be lost on everybody that I don't think that The Life of the Showgirl is going to be a Travis love album. I think it's going to be about her life, and Travis is a slice of that. It's going to be probably a large slice, but still a slice, and that's kind of the point. Is like, and that's what makes it beautiful. Whenever I heard this news, like it made me so happy. It made me feel so fulfilled for her. And I felt like a close personal friend of mine had, finally kind of got what they were seeking in a potential partner, a real partner in their lives. And after seeing the podcast and falling in love with them as a couple in front of us, that we actually got to tangibly see and experience, it meant so much more. And, I also think it's just so cool of her that she, like I alluded to earlier, like she is a millennial, and I think she's rewriting the millennial experience. She didn't settle. She didn't settle for Jake Gyllenhaal. She didn't settle for Joe Alwyn. How horrific, right? I'm sorry, but one day, we will talk more about Joe Alwyn. But I have so much to say about him. She didn't settle, and she ended up in this really beautiful partnership where he and like they actually are a pretty good fit in terms of like the ambition and the public ego that they project. And they complement each other and they support each other and they understand each other, and that's what we should want. So, but like not settling and waiting until you're 36 to get to get engaged, to get married. That's I think it's setting a good example for people that you shouldn't just rush into or have these expectations that our grandparents did whenever they were 20. It's like bam, they got married and by 25 they had 3 kids. Like I think it's interesting that she's kind of making the blueprint for us.
Yeah. And I feel like I have friends who, like, my partner and I haven't got married yet. We've been engaged for like, I don't know, like 7 years now. And it's just because like we're not in a rush. Our goals were spend money on this and spend money on that. Like we don't want to spend tons of money on a wedding. But we also had a goal of saying we don't want to get married until we're in a house that feels like so connected to us. And like we want to have like that kind of figured out before we get married. And like my parents didn't have my sister and I until they were older, and they got a lot of criticism for having kids older in life when they were having us in like the early to mid 80s. And my mom was like, I'm going to be able to afford all the things that I want to be able to give to my kids, and or as much as I possibly can. And that was their goals. I love how it's an example of a successful woman finding what seems like is good for her and what just seems so supportive of her, and I love that so much. And it's something we don't see very often. Like, a lot of times when there's a pop star, the boyfriend is sitting in the corner, like
Yeah.
he's not celebrating.
Right.
Like,
And that's what she
and
had for a while.
and like that might work for those people, I don't know, but I love watching him celebrate her and just be like, he talks about her and he's like, she's this, talking about how amazing she is. I just think there's so much negative stuff going on in the world. Like, just being able to be happy for two people who, like, it doesn't affect your life at all. It's just fun.
Yeah.
And like, the pictures were gorgeous. And I was like, let me get married there. Save those floral arrangements, keep them living, and let Garrett and I just duck in, do a quick vow moment,
Mhm.
and then leave.
2 minutes. That's all you need.
Just 2 minutes. Can we have the spot for 2 minutes, please?
While you guys are like, getting a drink, just let us, yeah. But, so where I was on deck 7 of the ship drinking a Cosmo, and like I was ready to celebrate. It was just such a great thing. And, I don't know. I'm so happy for Taylor. I'm so happy to be in this moment with her. I'm so excited for the new album. And I can't wait to go through that with you and all of the Swifties in the Patreon and in the podcast world. I get compliments on the Taylor Swift stuff. People really enjoy having her be a part of our Scream universe. But Ashley, any final thoughts before we wrap up here? And where can they find you online?
You can find me at Squirrel and Spud 9 on Instagram. There you'll find my store, and more importantly, our Wednesday Scream Game of the Week. We have a lot of fun with them, so please check them out and always comment your answers or your picks or whatever makes sense for the quiz of that week, because I really love to hear them. Like, you will see me in the comments. I will be replying to literally everybody. But yeah, you can find me there, and I'm just happy for somebody who makes me happy to be happy. And I am so excited for this album. So,
well, very soon we're going to be giving our predictions for the life of the showgirl based off of the 12 album track list, and it'll be fun. So, and just, I hope everybody, I actually think that there being a new album and it being pop centric and shorter, I actually think we can get people who aren't like Swifties who listen to the podcast to listen to the album and engage with the album. I'm confident. Like, we got TJ, get this, to put Taylor Swift's face on this episode title card. That is like kaboom, celebration of 250, right? But also just like, I love it.
we love TJ and we love Taylor.
Yes. All right. Well, Ashley, thank you so much. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer, you want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back!